So there's this thing called perfect timing that to me is so fascinating. And it happens all the time if we pay attention. And sometimes it happens anyway, whether we pay attention or not. So I have a little story to tell about me. This is quite a number of years ago. My daughter was born. Some of you know my daughter. My daughter came into this world, and in those days when it was time for the mother and child to go home, they brought them down in a wheelchair. I don't know what they do now, but they bring them down in a wheelchair. And my task was real simple. They said, you go out and get the car, bring it around to where the wheelchair is going to be. I knew where that was. And meet us there. And then the mother and child can get out of the car, get out of the wheelchair. They don't need to be in it, but that was their protocol. So I brought the car up, turned it off, got out, got the baby in the car seat. All this takes a lot of time, 5, maybe 10 minutes. Did all that, pardon me. Then I get in the car and I start it up, and the radio is already on. Now, for those of you who don't remember radio was very random back then. I didn't know what station it was on. I had no idea what song was going to be playing. All I knew is that I didn't even know that I was going to be listening to anything. But as I turned it on, I like to play the song now of what I heard at that time. Hope you can hear it. Can you hear it? My daughter's name already was Sarah. Now, I had no idea how that happened. None. Now, this was years ago, and I was a lot more dense. I admit that. But I had no conception of what was going on here. I was stunned. How could this little infant be communicating to me like that? Her name was playing on the radio the instant she got in the car. Or the instant I turned it on. And I could not duplicate that. There's no way. I could never explain it. The only thing that I can conceive of is something strange is going on here. Makes no sense to me. Eventually I figured out, well, maybe there's some kind of divine thing happening. Something beyond me. And it was a mixture of that confusion and also this, wow, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that amazing? If God is part of all this, maybe there is something really positive going on here. Maybe, just maybe, there's a perfection to time. Maybe all this is happening for some reason. This is one of my favorite quotes. This comes from Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Sometimes sadness, sometimes joy, but beneath it all, remember the innate perfection of your life unfolding. That is the secret to unreasonable happiness. The innate perfection of your life unfolding. And when you see perfect timing, it can remind you of that fact, that your perfect life is unfolding, that it always has and it always will. Now, we're living through a situation right now that I think a lot of people would agree is not perfect. Doesn't seem that way. And I'm not going to get into that right now. But I will say this, that this Psalm 23 can be very helpful for you. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. To know that God is with us, to know that God can protect us. This idea of spiritual protection is very, very powerful. And to believe in it can help you to feel better And how you feel is very important. Studies have been done that show us that when we feel better, that everything works better for us, that we're healthier. How you feel will affect how you are, and in fact, a positive, strong, positive attitude can help to boost your immune system. You have that capacity to improve your own internal being. And we all do that, not realizing what we're doing most of the time. Not realizing how powerful this spiritual part of ourself is. Your immune system protects you. But let's talk about this that I started with, this level of consciousness that we're creating here. How are we going to change that? Well, I've been doing this quite some time and studying it ever since that time when Sarah was born, in a lot of detail, trying to figure this out. And I've been introduced to a process that I think is extremely helpful and very simple. I do a number of things, but what I focus on are things that I find are very simple and easy to do. Because I find if it's simple, it works better for some reason. Yeah, a lot of things can have complexity and all that, and you can just dazzle people with your understanding of all these things, but none of that's really necessary. The question is, does it work or doesn't it? And I was introduced to a process a number of years ago. I was told it was an ancient process. I didn't know. I just tried it. I was told how effective it was. But then I shared it with people. Because once you have this, you have it, and you can share it. You have permission. And the effects have been amazing on people. In theory, it's supposed to help every area of your life. And it seems to always do that. I call it the ascension process. And it's a process of just raising your vibration, increasing your frequency. And this process literally helps you to spend more time in your higher self. When you're in that higher self state, you're more into that 100% spiritual part of yourself. So you feel better. So naturally, it would help to protect you. And I believe it helps to bring about that change in consciousness that we're searching for. You see, I believe that the solution to the issues that we're facing right now, yes, there's a lot of physical things we have to do. Yeah, we have to wash our hands, we have to take care of ourselves better. There's so many things we need to do, and there's a lot of really smart people trying to figure out the solution. That change will happen, I believe, because of our group consciousness that we all focus on the solution to the problem. As we do that, this thing called creativity just happens. And you'll notice around the world and back in time where things just spontaneously appeared to science, sometimes more than one place at a time. How did that happen? We're not going to discuss that, but the point is we're in desperate need of some really smart people figuring out some things very fast. And I believe we can do that. But the solution has to be spiritual too. Not that we are only trying to do this spiritually. Say, well, if I only, as Dan pointed out, if I only do the prayer for protection and I don't wash my hands, I'm creating a lot of risk for myself. Protection is something that we need to do consistently. And some people ask me why, because I try to teach it. And it's a good question. Well, doesn't God always protect me? And the answer is yes. God's always there. There is nothing to worry about. But maybe we need to use a little common sense. I mean, think about it. Just for example, let's say you get in the car in the morning, say I'm going to go to the store, it's not far away, I get in the car, and when I get in the car, I put my seatbelt on, right? That's my protection. Maybe a few other things are protections, but just that's an example. But you always put your seatbelt on, right? What if you didn't? Well, it's okay, but are you as safe? Maybe not. But you say, well, I did it this morning. I went to the store, came back home. Oh, I forgot something. I'm going to go back a little later and get something else. Same car, same road, same store, back and forth. But I don't need to put my seatbelt on this time, do I? I did it last time. I did it today. Isn't that good enough? Sure, it's good enough. Good luck. We don't worry about the seatbelts anymore. Now, 20 years ago, yeah, that was a big deal. People were mad. I don't want to put these seatbelts on. They bother me. Okay, well, that's their choice. The point is, you can choose to protect yourself any moment of the day. And whenever you feel to do that, you should do it. It's that simple. I would like to share this ascension process with you. I can do that. And I can do it personally for you at any time. And we can do it during this meditative process that we're about to do.